So if you'd told me about 6 months ago or a year ago that I was going to be taking part in a literary festival, I would have been astonished, amazed, and I probably would not have believed you. And yet it happened to me about a week ago. And I'm still unpacking what it involved, what it felt like, because there was a lot of other exciting things around it, like journeying to the festival. But I wanted to at least sit down and try and say a few things about it for those of you who, like me, are keen in writing and would love to get their writing out there and be part of the writing community. And really, the secret for me was as simple as genuinely enjoying writing, keeping on doing it, and then just keeping an eye out for opportunities and being engaged. And really, the whole thing started with me writing a letter to family for Christmas and deciding to make it a round robin letter where it talks about what's happening and yet to make it funny. And I really did that, thought no more about it. Then I discovered that my family in London were still sitting months later with the letter attached to their fridge with a magnet because they just find it funny and they just love seeing it and looking at it again and again. So that all happened a while ago. And then recently I saw a little open call for letters for a festival at Charleston Farmhouse called Small Wonder. And it's a festival that celebrates short form over a long weekend, and it takes place in October. And I thought, well, why not give it a go? I have this letter. They were looking for letters that people had maybe come across or find as part of their family archive. It was called Letters in the Attic, and they were looking for letters. So my mind went to this family letter, and I sent it away. I thought, if you're not in, you can't win, and was really pleased and delighted to be selected to have my letter read at the festival. Now, the festival is in the far south coast of England, and I live up in the top north of UK, which is around Scotland. So it was a long journey, and very sensibly the director said, you don't have to read the letter, you're welcome to come, but also the dramatic director who's hosting this part of the festival will be quite happy to read your letter for you, which was wonderful. And I decided, yes, I'm going to go for the adventure. I'm going to go for this long journey. I'm going to spend time with the family in London to whom I sent the letter. I'm going to retrace it in person, and I'm going to read it out at the festival. And it's as simple as that. I didn't receive any payment, and obviously my travel was quite a lot, but it was so worth it. And really, it came from seeing the opportunity was because I was following Charleston already, Charleston Farmhouse, who host the festival. And so therefore I noticed on my social media that this little message flagged up, we're looking for letters. And I think the magic words are open call. If you're a writer or an artist even, you should be constantly searching for open call for artists or writers, or invitations to say, send us your work, we are interested in showing it. So, what are my memories? Well, I'm going to make separate videos on what Charleston Farmhouse is like, because that was a wonder in itself. I'm probably going to make a separate video about travelling and what you can read when you're travelling, because that was another part of the whole experience. And here's what it was like to take part in a literary festival for the very first time. So I was there for the day, and I arranged to see the various two other workshops that were on that day, and I very much enjoyed that. And again, I think that's going to be another separate video, believe it or not. We'll see how we go. But what they were doing was the event was called Letters in Your Attic, and they were looking for about 8 readers at the end of the day to read out a letter. They were a phenomenal bunch of people, and the letters they had and the communications they had were astonishing. Mine was really quite plain. I think I was there for comedic interest, for something light-hearted to have in the middle of everything else, because there were deeply moving stories coming through which were just phenomenal. It was lovely to be there. And really, we met at a certain point about an hour before, and we had some coffee outside in a garden, which was pretty much, I think, Duncan Grant's favourite little spot. He was an artist who lived in Charleston Farmhouse, and it was his little private space of garden. And we sat and had coffee, myself and these other people who were all strangers to me, and Neil, who was also unknown to me at that point. I think I would have been quite scared if I'd realised that he'd been given an honorary PhD and an OBE for his services to queer literature and the theatrical world, but I didn't at this point. I just knew he was the person who was leading us, and he was very good at explaining what would happen, how we would sit, how it would progress, so there was no sense of being at a loss. The first thing we did was we were given a little label with our name on it, and we were about a few minutes into talking. Somebody said to me, "Oh, Heather, you're peeling," because my label was just completely disinclined to stick on the outfit that I was wearing. And sure enough, a few minutes later on, I had no name. The name label had gone. It was just completely gone. So I'm somebody who's hard to label. It could be said. So I just made myself another one. I just quickly wrote it out, stuck it on, and then at the very end, as we were getting ready to go out, one of the people discovered that it was lying on, it had fluttered off me as I went to get coffee, and was lying on a plant in the Charleston Farmhouse garden. And I said, "Oh, just leave it there." I was thinking of, let a part of me stay in Charleston, at least until it was tidied up next. But she was very tidy, so she lifted it up, and then she looked around. She couldn't see anything else to sort of stick it to, so she plonked it on a box of biscuits that had been provided for us for our little quiet coffee. So somebody somewhere will have taken the box and thought, "There's a very greedy person who's stuck her name on the box of biscuits." So there we go. This is how urban legends start. There are so many ways in which I could be labelled badly. But anyway, so we just had our little quiet chat, and then we went and sat in a circle. Most of the people who were speaking were sitting on a raised platform, and we were in turn given the microphone, and Neil would say, "Heather or Nancy or Pamela or whatever has got a story," and the microphone would be given to us, and we would have to talk into it. And the other stories were absolutely astonishing. There was a lady who had gone into looking at the 1920 census, and the cards had been punched by, they employed 13, 14-year-old girls to do this, so they were punching in what someone had replied in the household to these cards, and then they were stocked and stacked, and the whole thing was sorted and counted. But they had taken that opportunity to write little messages to each other, and she read out one of these, which was wonderful, very personal, and 100 years ago gave you an sight into the mind of a young teenager, and that was wonderful. And another lady had got a letter in a bottle, which she was the third one she got during her lifetime, and it turned out to be from somebody looking for work in films, and she contacted this person, and this person just kept on. That was the sole purpose of that bottle message, and that was all they were interested in. There was no sense of wanting to communicate with her or engage with her as a person, so that was a bit of a pity. That was the after story, but it was a great story. And another lady read a letter which was written to her when she turned 21 from her grandfather, to say that he had been a heavy smoker and then heard that he was about to have a grandchild, and was talking about it to the person giving him a medical, who said, if you're wanting to see this grandchild grow up, then you're going to need to cut down drastically on your smoking and your healthy lifestyle. And he did. And so when she turned 21, he wrote this letter and said, you changed my life by how you came, and this and many other things, because they'd been very close to his granddaughter, which was just a wonderful letter. There was another letter that was read out anonymously, which had been received from someone from their parents when they'd come out to them as being gay, and it was just a wonderfully affirmative and loving letter. Neil read and showed a photograph which was soldiers coming back from the Second World War, and there was a picture of them sitting on camels in the pyramids, and they had written this really amusing little story in the back, which was as if it was a still from a film they were in, and they were all feeding female film stars. So it was hilarious as well. That was wonderful. So yeah, all sorts of little things, and each letter was a little window into a particular time and place. So I'll read you my letter, and my letter is an adaptation of the round robin Christmas letter, which is obviously, people tend to boast in it, and mine makes fun of that and gives some pretty silly options, and then it's one thing slash something slash something something slash something even more ludicrous, delete what does not apply. So that's the basic letter, and I'll read it to you now. 6th of December 2016. Dear friend slash enemy slash frenemy, in these impersonal times of digital communication, it is a relief to receive a personal letter slash missive slash epistle slash love note slash final demand, delete what does not apply, from a friend slash fellow member slash loved one slash those living abroad. And so I take up my pen slash stylus slash laptop slash typewriter slash quill to send you these news slash headlines, shockers, from my personal life, family, version of reality. Best wishes to you, your spouse, live-in lover, renter, livestock, pet cat, poodle, chihuahua, tortoise, and best wishes for a happy slash joyous slash superb Christmas season slash shindig slash knees up slash party in a brewery. My insert love interest name and I and our insert children's or pets' names are contemplating a quiet Yuletide slash Noel slash New Year. Please note the address at the top, as we have slash or have not changed domicile from last year. We've changed landline number and are not using our new one, so all calls should come to our personal assistants or mobiles or random email generator. My oldest child slash pet has won a scholarship to Oxford, or competed for Miss World, or had a slight bicycle accident but is doing fine. She has a small part-time job and is applying for work in IBM or Amnesty International or a small local supermarket to cover living costs while following their true love of taxidermy or script writing or fulfilling their parents' hectic expectations. Our youngest pet or child is interested in playing computers and becoming a computer games inventor, but then again, isn't everybody's nowadays? Please write soon and tell us your news, bank account details and PIN number. Yours cosily, ... insert name. Note to client, we hope you have enjoyed this free sample of the round robin generating template for the Noel Minator 2000, and will now go to our website to explore purchasing the full model for your personal use. So that was the letter I read out in the little circle, and the lighting was quite low, And it was wonderful, and it took me back to that sense of the original storytelling probably took place around a little fireplace, maybe in a cave, where people were telling each other stories at night to just be welcoming and just to share and have a sense of community and to be a bit like television in a sense, isn't it? And while having written this, I wrote a little draft for a poem, so I'm going to read that to you now. Letters in the Attic. We gathered the words into the old barn, where pencil grey loops and blue-black ink take on the texture of new bodies and voices. Gathered in a circle, we share the gossip, whispers, confessions, demands, the lives of others past to sustain the weary now, and open the century door to bored teenagers, sugar lips, brick, breathing the space of their minds into ours, gathered, encircled.